I want to talk about why I unsubscribed from Xbox Game Pass. A lot of people have seen the whole $30 a month price tag on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and they're like, that's why, right? Yes and no. It's not the $30 price tag. It was, in fact, when they upped it to $20. My subscription was running out around the time that they announced or updated the price to, I think it was around $20. And I was thinking, okay, how often do I use Game Pass? And I was thinking about it, and I was like, not as much as I would think. You'd think I'd be using it all the time. But the reality of it was I wasn't really using that much. In fact, most of the time I was on my Steam account finding a game and then getting hooked into that game for a couple weeks to maybe a month or so, depending on the game. And that was it. I was going through my backlog. And I'm like, back when it was relatively cheaper, or actually a lot cheaper now, I'm like, you know what? I'll leave it on there kind of to support them, to say, hey, I like this. This is a good, I want to up the numbers because this is a good product and it's good value. Well, once they continue to raise the price, it's like, okay, I'm no longer getting the good, like, this is no longer as good of a value. I don't feel like supporting this at this point anymore. I would rather be on a Steam summer sale or holiday sale that they have, or a seasonal sale is what I think they call it. So if I look at the price, $20 a month, that comes out to, I believe it was $240 a year, which is still a great deal. I'm not, it's obviously not as good of a deal as it was prior to that at like what, $15 a month, but it was still a great deal. If you were, playing more than 3 AAA games on release that would appear in Game Pass, it became, an easy sell. Or maybe, so once you got to the 4th one, I believe. Well, now it's $360, and the games are like, what, $70 a piece? You would need to buy at least 6 AAA games a year on release in order to make that make sense. If you're a patient gamer and you wait for sales, you can get those games at a much more reasonable price within a year, usually, of its release. They'll usually go on sale for at least, depending on the game, obviously, anywhere from like 10 to like 30% cheaper, sometimes even more. Some of them, they drop down to 50% off relatively quickly. So instead of being 70, it's like, like $35 or $40 or, maybe like 50 some dollars. Not the full price, much more reasonable. And that's the thing. I would rather wait for a sale that I feel comfortable paying for some of these games, because a lot of these games are not worth the $70 because they're average. Not many games are an Elden Ring. And Xbox, it's hit or miss. Like, for example, Age of Mythology Retold, I think it's worth its price. They price it appropriately. Base game's like $25, and I think with the DLC or expansions that came with the premium upgrade, I think it comes out to like $55 total dollars or $60 for base game, 2 expansions, and an extra pantheon god for the Norse pantheon. And that's a reasonable price. Okay, you obviously get the campaigns for those new factions, and you get to obviously play as those new factions, which is, very good. It adds a lot more varied different pantheons to play with. I think we're up to 6 different pantheons now. So yeah, definitely worth it. But then you have some games like Avowed, which were average. A lot of people said it, it's not as bad as people say it is, but, it's average. It's not like great. It's not super bad. And the thing is, that's not a great selling point for a $70 game. If it was like $20, $30, you could probably get away with saying, oh, it's an average, it's not that great, but, for $20, $30, it's, it's a reasonable price. That's the thing. I just would rather wait for a sale to buy these games on release. And if it's something that I really would, really interested, I'd rather just buy it. outright, versus paying a subscription where I don't actually, like when I unsubscribe, because like people think, okay, $30 is the worst it's gonna get. No, it could get worse. It could. Who's to say? In 2 years, it's like $35 a month or $40 a month. There's a possibility they might be crazy enough to do some crap like that, and that's the thing. If they do let it get to that point, then when you unsubscribe, you cannot go back and play all those games that you played. Then you had access to that catalog. So if you had a game that was basically your Game Pass game, well, now you're going to have to buy it anyways. And I'm like, it's just gotten to the point where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm just going to buy it. So that's pretty much my thought process on this. I think Game Pass was a good deal. Was a no-brainer, as Cole Carnage put it. It was a no-brainer, even at $20. At $30, now it's just like you're going to have to go on a case-by-case basis. You're going to have to go and analyze. If you're like me, you're patient, you don't play as much variety of games, you find a game and you stick with it, and that's it. Then you're going to be like, then it's not going to be worth it. But if you're a person who plays like 12 games a month, maybe not beating them all, but you're trying new games, trying stuff out, and maybe the games you play are short. They're not like multi-100-hour games or 100-plus-hour games. Maybe they're like 5 to 10-hour games, with some being in the 15-20 hour. Then you could probably get through quite a bit more games every month than most people typically would. So for you, it might make more sense to have Game Pass, but yeah, for me, it no longer makes sense, and I no longer wish to support it because it was a good deal and it was the best deal in gaming. Now it's kind of just like, get it if it makes sense for you. Don't if it don't.